What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with Life Story Part 2. In the last part, we left off after elementary school, and I'm kind of breaking this up as, a three-part, four-part thing where I do elementary school, middle school, high school, and then present. So, hope you guys enjoy. Drop a like if you do. If you haven't seen Part 1, that will be linked in the description, and let's dive right into it. So, Part 2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, last time we left off, it was just young, innocent, elementary school Goblin, just on the typical Goonery, just on the young man bullshit that I was on back in the day. Now, middle school is when things kind of started to change a little bit for me, and when middle school rolled around, throughout elementary school, although I didn't really like school, I was still a good student. I still got good grades. I was a fucking great kid. I scored really high on state testing. I was getting my shit done. Now, when middle school rolled around, shit changed a lot because there was a shit ton, a massive influx of new people at my school, and also a massive influx of things you could do throughout middle school because as you get older, excuse me, I kind of have a cold, but as you get older, especially through middle school, you can kind of start doing more shit. That's like puberty season. That's when shit gets real. But either way, I'm rolling up into middle school, 6th grade and everything, and I'm still playing video games all fucking day. My parents are still divorced. I still don't really have a very stable relationship with my dad, and my mom was starting to get mad at me because my grades were starting to suck dick. Throughout my entirety of middle school. God, excuse me, this cold is murdering me, but throughout my entirety of middle school, my grades sucked dick. I think combined from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I had a total of maybe 5 grades that weren't Fs, and the only reason that I made it through middle school is because they had this program called No Child Left Behind or whatever, which basically was their way of just passing you even when you didn't do shit, just to keep their numbers up. Yeah, we got a 99% success rate here at this school in an amazing school district. That's their little finesse method of doing it. I learned that one. But either way, I'm going through middle school, and I'm a pretty normal guy. I like playing my video games. I like going out with my friends. But, at home it was a little different because I was always a very isolated kind of person, and I still am kind of to this day. And that changed a little bit in high school at one point and got a little better, but I was always a very isolated person. So instead of going out and, kicking it with my boys and going to the playground or going to play football with them, I'd rather hop on COD with them. I'd rather hop on the Xbox and join their party chat or some shit. That's how I was. And, I made a lot of friends who kind of were the same way. Me and all my friends in middle school, we just loved to play video games all fucking day. So I remember our kind of day-to-day thing was, I had a friend who lived fairly close to me who I played a ton of Call of Duty with, and I used to always walk right over to his house after school. We had another friend who would come meet us there, and we'd all chill in his basement and play Call of Duty, and then we'd make our routine walk up to the Walgreens, which is down the street from us, to buy a bunch of bags of Cheetos and Mountain Dews and shit, and then walk back home with all that shit. Rain or snow, we didn't give a fuck. We needed our Cheetos and shit, because I remember his mom wouldn't have Cheetos at home, but we wanted those. We were hungry, so we'd have to scrape together our leftover lunch money and go ball out at the Walgreens every Saturday. That was the move. That was the absolute 110% move. So every Saturday from 6th all the way through 8th grade, we'd just be balling out at this Walgreens. We'd just be walking in. Sometimes if we were big balling, we'd buy 2 bags of Cheetos, and that was big balling season. But typically, we'd just get some Mountain Dews or some Arizonas. And I remember this was also the time where they were releasing some of the newer flavors of Mountain Dew, because I remember when I was younger, they only had Code Red and then the regular Mountain Dew. And then I remember in middle school is when they were trying out all those different flavors, the white one, the blue one, all that crazy shit. So we were just balling on all the Mountain Dew flavors. We were holy shit, this is heaven. And that was my weekend basis. That was my social interaction. Even my social life, it still revolved around playing video games. It was a massive fucking part of my life. And around this time, I started watching a lot of other YouTubers who played games. I started watching, I remember I grew up watching White Boy 7th Street a whole lot. He was the OG Call of Duty legend. Me and all my friends watched him. I even had a friend who had like a goat hoodie of him, and I wanted one too, but I didn't have the money to spend because it was like 50 or 60 bucks at the time, and I was like, shit, dude, that's a lot of fucking money, but I want one. But either way, we were just kind of doing our thing throughout middle school, just minding our own business. And in 6th grade, that's really all I did. Just go out, play video games on the weekend, and then after school, come home and play a bunch of video games again. And I never, ever, ever, did homework. Never, never, never. Fuck homework. I'd do my classwork. I'd be fine at school. But as soon as I stepped foot out of that school, you're not catching me doing shit for schoolwork. I don't give a fuck. I'd do it the class before every single day. And towards the end of 6th grade, I believe it was the end of 6th grade, is when I started my own YouTube channel. I remember I really enjoyed watching White Boy. I really enjoyed watching YouTube videos, and I played video games all fucking day. And I decided, fuck it, I should do it. So I remember at the time, I had a laptop that was really shitty. I had no desktop computer. I had to go buy, if you guys are really OGs, you'll remember the HD PVR. It was the equivalent of like today's Elgato. It was, you could only record in 720p. There was like a billion different wires. I don't even think it had an HDMI port on it. But nevertheless, I hooked that shit up. I ended up asking my mom to get me one, hooked it up. All I had was, I had my shitty little Turtle Beach headset, and I remember for like damn near a year straight, I never understood how to set up or configure the HD PVR, so all my recordings were in 360p. So my videos were just garbage. Like, my shit was just terrible, but I started doing it all the time as a hobby. I was uploading every fucking day, dude. I loved that shit. I was like, holy fuck. I remember when I got my first, 10 subscribers, I was like, damn, we kind of clouded up now, huh? We kind of flexers now, It was some wild shit. And, over the summer, that was my day-to-day. Every day, what I would do on Saturdays, going out with the boys, getting the Cheetos, going back to my friend's house and playing COD all day, turn it to the everyday thing over the summer. And that was every summer. 7th grade rolled around, same old, doing my day-to-day. And my at-home relationship with my parents, once my grades went down, got a lot worse. My mom was really unhappy with me. It caused a lot of arguments between us. And at one point, it got bad enough where I only lived with my dad for like a month straight. I didn't even speak to my mom for like a month straight. But that also sucked because my relationship with my dad was fucking horrible. And he was still an angry motherfucker, throwing shit around, breaking shit. And it still kind of intimidated me, So I was like, shit, dude, this kind of sucks. But I just sat there and played video games and made YouTube videos all day to deal with it. That was how I handled it. And, it kind of sucked, but I eventually kind of reconciled with my mom. We made up, and, I moved back in with her as well. And it was just kind of a lot of tension and fighting revolving around my grades. And my parents would always tell me, oh, why don't you try in school? Is it because you're in the advanced classes or what? Because in 6th grade, they originally started me out. We had regular classes. We had the classes that were like a step down, that were slower. And then we had the advanced classes. We had they called it Project Arrow, but it was like basically, kids would call them like PA classes, but it was basically like advanced classes. It was like honors of middle school, So I was in all those classes in 6th grade because my testing scores were really high. However, I flunked all of them, so they thought maybe if they just bump me down to the normal classes, I'll do good. Now, most of my friends were also in the normal classes, so it was like, all right, shit. That's not going to do me any good. Because now I can sit in class and just talk to my friends about Call of Duty all day, That's exactly what I fucking did. I'm probably going to get roasted as fuck for this, but I remember in 7th grade, I wore a Call of Duty t-shirt for my school picture. I remember that shit. I was such a little fucking nerd, dude. I was wild. But I think I still have that yearbook somewhere. I gotta bust that out. That picture was so funny. I had a fucking bowl cut and everything. But either way, I was just... I didn't care about school. I never cared about school. I was just all about my video games. I was all about that shit. And, as 8th grade progressed, I kind of started not only playing video games, but there was a certain female that I was talking to in 8th grade. Once my 8th grade year rolled around, there was a girl who we're going to call Ashley. And, prior to this, I'd never really had like a legit girlfriend. But me and this girl, since 6th grade, we kind of known each other and we kind of like talked to each other, but never really very seriously, never really like hit on each other or anything. It was just kind of like very subtle. Like I remember one time in 7th grade, she kissed me on the cheek, and I can't even lie, my dick was hard. But either way, so 8th grade rolls around and we have Spanish class together, me and this girl, Ashley, and we sit next to each other, of course. She's like, oh, come sit with me. I go and sit with her. And, I remember we were always on some goon shit in that Spanish class. She'd let me cheat off her test, but every time we'd get caught cheating, and instead of punishing her, the teacher would punish me. Because, I don't know, maybe she was just sexist, I don't fucking know, but she'd always send me out in the hall and take points off my test, but like leave her test be, but I'd still try to cheat off her test every time, but it very rarely worked, because in Spanish class, I never paid attention. I didn't know how to say anything, so she'd have to help me. I remember one time we were partners on this PowerPoint, and I literally didn't know how to speak Spanish, and this was like our final, so she just did the whole PowerPoint, and then like, it was like a home tour. We had to like, as if we were like real estate agents, we had to like present a home to somebody in Spanish. So like I remember it was supposed to be like a group project. Like, in order to include myself in the project, we went and hung out and like took pictures in some random house. Like we were like, I think it was at my house, and she just came over and we just like took pictures standing in like the kitchen and like, in the bedroom and like in a bunch of random spots doing like our house presentation thing. That was my participation in it. I just stood in the pictures. So she was clutch for that. But either way, I started to catch some real feels for this female as the year went on. And I was still playing video games, still kicking it with the boys. But I started to catch some real feels, and it was the first time. It was like, damn, this shit's kind of weird. What the fuck is this? And eventually towards the end of the 8th grade year, throughout most of it, it had still been pretty tame. We'd kind of hit on each other, but I was like new to the whole aspect of like females because I was just a fucking nerd. So I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, what do I even do, dude? I had no idea what I was fucking doing. And finally, luckily, she was, also fairly aggressive with it. So she kind of made it easier for me to slide in there, because if I was the one having to make all the power plays, chances are I would have never touched her a day in my life. But luckily, she also made some crucial power plays. So by the end of the 8th grade year, we were just hooting and hollering. I'm pretty sure we'd kind of discussed it, and we decided that we didn't want to like date yet until freshman year started, but we definitely wanted to do some like, more than friends kind of shit. So I remember, I remember throughout that summer, prior to this, I'd never like done anything with a girl, it was like really, really basic shit. Like I'd hugged a girl, I'd been kissed on the fucking cheek, but like, I hadn't like hooked up with a girl, So I remember what ended up happening was, throughout the summer we talked, but her parents were really strict and they didn't let her go out very much. They didn't let her see me at all. So she'd always have to sneak around to see me. And I remember towards the end of summer, when our freshman year was getting close to starting, was when we first kind of, hooked up and hooted and hollered, I guess you could say. Excuse me, I can't talk. And, I remember we were arguing over like, I think we were just texting and bitching about some bullshit we were arguing over. I don't know. And we agreed to like meet up at like the playground, which was like near my school, because we didn't have cars. Our parents wouldn't take us to see each other. Like her parents fucking hated me. So there was no way they were going to like take her to see me because they didn't want her dating anyone or seeing any guys. So, we had to like meet up at this school playground of this like elementary school. And, on that playground, we were arguing. She started crying. I felt guilty. I went for it. I went guns blazing. We hit that first kiss maneuver. We hit that shit. It was lit. Let me tell you guys. It was within walking distance of my house, fairly close. It was probably closer to me than it was to her. So I was walking home that day. Let me tell you, I had an extra strut in my step. I was walking home feeling like the goddamn commando. I was like, holy shit, dude. I'm such a fucking baller, dude. Fuck. And it was just an overall hoot and a holler of an experience. So anyways, that kind of sums up my middle school life. It was pretty standard, honestly. I just played a bunch of fucking video games all the way through, started making YouTube videos, didn't really get anywhere with it yet. Had my first female encounter, had fights with my parents, but I was still a pretty good kid. I was kind of introverted, I was kind of quiet. I didn't have a ton of friends, but I still kind of did my thing, still kind of just minded my beeswax and did my thing and played my game. So The next part of this, when high school rolls around, that's when shit kind of starts to hoot and holler. So be ready for that. Hope you guys do enjoy. Drop a like if you did. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.